have to think twice because my body clock is still a little screwed up. So I was about to say good morning. Good morning. Good evening, everyone. I've been asked to talk about the non-commercial side of the group, rather, and along the way discuss also what's been happening in the country. So for those of you who are interested not only in business and what's happening in the country in general, maybe we can help out in that regard. This is a nice dramatic photograph. The first part of my presentation will be about the CSR projects or corporate social responsibility programs that the group undertakes. And then later on I'll be talking about career opportunities in the Philippines and particularly within the group. Let me see if I can use this properly. Okay.
All right, it works.
Works. Okay. Very quickly, what I'll try to do is give you a quick broad strokes of what the group does in the field of CSR, and then zero in very quickly in one area, so that particularly the area that's very current in terms of its importance. This is what we do in terms of the different CSR programs. These are the fields. Traditionally, we have been in education, particularly using technology for education. Although one of the things that we've learned over the past 10 to 15 years in our educational programs is that technology is great, but at the end of the day, it's education that matters. So what we've learned is that we're partnering with innovative educators and figuring out how technology can be used to help them accomplish their innovations. An example of that are the two Ramon Isberto Award winners 2-3 years ago, the Bernido couple, that's Marivic and Chris Bernido, who's developed actually a no-tech solution or approach to education. Your basic tool is paper and pencils. But what we've done is use some of the technologies to help them do their kind of work. For example, using video conferencing so that they're able to reach more people. We film them and put them on YouTube so they don't have to repeat their explanations again and again. People can watch them on video. So we're very heavy in education. We're also, of course, involved in environment, in livelihood. And one example of livelihood which is aligned with the kind of business that we run is we've developed a digital tourism program. So using QR codes and NFCs technologies to support tourism programs of specific areas like Cebu. We're working with Bohol, Baguio City, areas where the local governments want to promote tourism as primarily and help develop livelihood within that area. So we're using digital technologies to help push that development forward. Health, we have health applications for profiling, for the use of doctors in prosthetics, for example, as well as we're working with Operation Smile for operation of cleft palate and chin, because, for example, lips rather. In prosthetics, when it's usually done by medical missions, and it's in the past, about 50% of the kids or persons who are brought to the medical mission for possible treatment are rejected, or they can't be treated because they're not ready. Because there's a procedures, there are things that you need to do before you bring them for possible operation or possible treatment. And by using these profiling applications, health workers can process these possible patients before they are brought to the actual medical mission to be treated. In sports, of course, our chairman is very heavy into sports. Not only for the sense of enjoyment that it brings, but he's very philosophical about it because he looks at sports as a great way to prepare people for real life. So we're heavy into basketball, taekwondo, and a whole range of other activities. The last area is disaster preparedness, which I think you'll agree is a very current area of interest. And this is where I'm going to focus on a bit, because this is where we've been particularly active because of the nature of our business. Okay. Of course, if you recall the events of 2013, they should Shouldn't require too much explanation. Maybe a couple of pictures will help. If you remember September, there was the siege of Zamboanga. By the way, there's still about 20,000 people who are still living in tents in Zamboanga City. They're trying to fix that now. And of course, the earthquake in Bohol and Cebu. Anybody here from Cebu or Bohol? Okay. Oh, this is wrong. It's 2013. I was in New York together with my boss when that happened, and I was joking. We were having dinner at 8 o'clock in the evening, which is 8 o'clock in the morning in the Philippines, in New York. I was telling my boss, Mr. Nazareno, you know, every time I go out of the country, something happens. And that was 8 in the evening. At about 8:20, 8:30, we started receiving text messages. Yes, Bohol earthquake happened. Well, I don't have the pictures here, but many of the churches, historic churches, collapsed. I mean, really collapsed. There's nothing left. But some of them they're trying to fix, but some will just have to remain, and they're trying to figure out how to build a memorial in those spaces. But anyway, that's what happened also. And then, of course, who can not remember Yolanda, or Haiyan in the international name. Well, was anybody able to go? I'm just curious. It's a very different experience going to that place. It's like a war zone. And it hit the country's psyche. I mean, especially after 1, 2, 3. By the way, there are a couple of other storms. The Philippines is visited by 20 to 25 storms every year. 4 or 5 of them turn out to be very destructive on the average every year. But this one was different, very different. And so it shook people's minds and hearts, no? And for the private sector, our business, our bosses, there was some serious soul searching. They were questioning, what can we do better than what we've been doing in the past? Because the tendency is we have so many disasters in the country in terms of typhoons. Okay, something happens, then okay, relief. Then after that, we go back to normal ways. And then when the next storm comes around, okay, relief. Companies help out, giving assistance in terms of conducting relief operations. But after Haiyan, after Yolanda, there was serious discussion about, no, we have to go beyond that. We have to be more proactive in dealing with the situation. Well, because I think there's a gradual realization that Typhoon Yolanda will not be the last. We will have more of these kinds of storms because of climate change. So when that thought strikes you, it kind of really bothers you. And, our bosses, you recognize the two gentlemen? This would have been an unusual picture a couple of years ago. I mean, these are, their respective companies are competing in many fields. But after Haiyan, after Yolanda, these two gentlemen sat down and they're working together in a foundation called the Philippine Disaster Recovery Foundation. And the idea is how do you get the private sector to work on this full time, not just after a storm, but working continuously in order to prepare the private sector to better respond, or better yet, prepare for things like Haiyan or Yolanda. That's a significant change in mindset. Hopefully that mindset change will lead to better things to come, at least in terms of preparedness moving forward. But let me, for this presentation, focus on another group, which is this CNDR, by the way, is also a member of this group. Okay? And I happen to be the president of this group. Anyway, I'm using this as an example of how private sector thinking is changing as a result of that. We want to be more strategic, more proactive, and hopefully does have a better long-term impact. And I'm pitching this to you because if you're interested in what's happening in the Philippines in this field, you might be interested to see what we're thinking. I just want to see, okay, this is the approach we're trying to develop. We want to put a bigger stress on preparedness rather than just reacting, relief, response.